Hey, it's Mazzy and welcome back to the channel. I want to showcase a fusion jazz album that kind of blew me away. It's been a while since sort of this genre has blown me away. I want to show you some records that led me to this style of music way back and the influences for this album. And this is a new album by John McLaughlin, a great fusion jazz rock guitar player into his 80s. Does this Blistering soundtrack, a upcoming possibly Jack Stallings film, noir film. I don't even know if the film has been made yet. There's no kind of a clue about that, but it doesn't matter because it's the music, right? I'm always talking about the music, and I want to talk about my journey into his music, the DNA, his journey from this a little bit. But of course, I'm going to feature this album because I've been blasting this in my house for about the last 10 days. I sat down 3 times directly in the sweet spot and listened to it, focused on it, enjoyed it like that, and really kind of cranked it. And I listened to it about 3 other times while I'm cooking dinner. Those of you who know me, my listening space is my living space. And I love to listen to music where I live. And I tell you, this is a cool record. This is on Impex Records, the audiophile label. Now, this album, Music for Abandoned Heights, the noir-like film, apparently, that has this blistering, intense soundtrack with some beautiful ballads mixed throughout. Gary Husband on drums and keyboard, Julian Siegel, tenor and soprano saxophones, Misha Mulov Abado on acoustic bass, and Etienne Mbappe on electric bass, and of course John McLaughlin, guitar synths, and programming. He's always been, at least since the 1970s, that really fusion-like player. But I want to talk about my introduction because just coincidentally, I'll get into the record, I'll get into the details of this brilliant Impex release, but recently, literally 2 weeks ago, I showcased 1971, My Goals Beyond. This, I believe, is his first solo album, I think, but it's my favorite McLaughlin album. And this couldn't be further away from this new album. It's not electric, it's not fusion. This is a meditative exploration. This is a Zen-like album. Side 2 is him, just all acoustic guitar instrumentals. And side 1 is this kind of worldly jazz, world music fusion with sitar and tabla and violin and clarinet and bass, and just a stunning recording. And again, a different feel completely. I mean, literally, that's what you see is what you get on this album, My Goals Beyond from 1971. And it's kind of amazing that that's in 1971 because 3 other records that came out around this time, from 69, recorded in 70, and then 71 released, are his 3 initial collaborations with Miles Davis. And I've showcased these on my channel because this is my #1 Miles Davis album, 1969's In a Silent Way, and John McLaughlin's all over it. The new album has more connection with this than it does with My Goals Beyond. This is that funky electric fusion where Miles starts exploring crossovers into rock and funk and killer stuff. I just think this is an incredible record. And of course, I've showcased many times Bitches Brew, 1970. I bought this in 1970, within weeks after its first release, and I returned it because I just didn't get it. I didn't connect with it. 3 years later in the store I was working in, someone was playing this, and I thought, what the fuck is that? And I got it, and now I've loved it ever since. And of course, McLaughlin's on it. But I tell you, one of the killer pieces of music that he plays on, and that's Miles Davis, Jack Johnson. Of course, this is an amazing exploration with entire, track, was it side 1 and side 2 is all one track. There is scorching John McLaughlin guitar all over this record too. And this really leads us to this album. Now, it doesn't explode in the same way, although there's some intense kind of fusion-like free jazz, funk, and then some beautiful melodic ballads. I don't know if this is the connection to Impex, but Impex put out these records over the last few years. This is Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and Paco de Lucia Friday Night in San Francisco. This originally had come out on Columbia Records. They did this audiophile version of it. This happens to be the double 45. Those of you who know me, I don't like the double 45s. I don't like flipping them. But I think that was all it was available when I originally got this. But this is fantastic. And the great thing about this, too, for me, is I went to one of these shows, and for the life of me, I don't know if I went to Friday night or Saturday night, which they released later. But these are brilliant recordings. If I ever find a 33 of this, I'm going to grab it. Maybe, even though 45s have their benefits for a lot of people, the flow is what it is for me. I think they have a 33. But my guess, that's Impex's connection to this. Now, let me kind of tell you the details of this, the technical specs, if you will. This is cut by Chris Bellman at Bernie Grunman. It is from a digital recording, and it doesn't matter if a record's cut well. Those of you that are CD people, I think there's an SACD version, I believe, so go for that. But you cut to vinyl different than you cut for digital. It's as simple as that. So those of you that think that, oh God, it's just a digital file, why bother pressing it to vinyl? You don't get it, do you? Anyway, my system, I'd say my analog chain is superior than my digital chain anyway. But this is a killer sounding record. Again, I said it's cut by Chris Bellman. Stoughton press cover. Look at this beautiful gatefold and these photographs of the four main musicians on here. It has its own custom label here, John McLaughlin label, in this poly sleeve. And there is a wonderful, informative 8-page insert here that includes an introduction of this album, where it came from, how it started out, and a sort of an intro, an overview by John McLaughlin himself. Now, the influence for this album, and it talks about this in the insert, is this. This is a 10-inch. This is Miles Davis soundtrack. I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce this in French. This is from the English equivalent, Elevators to the Gallows, this 1958 Louis Malle film, one of the great noir French thrillers, 1958. And when this was recorded, Miles and the group he was playing with saw pieces of it and just improvised. They didn't have cues, specific cues that were made, but they just jammed, recorded things. Miles let the musicians really kind of create their own segments. And this is one of the great jazz records, one of the great jazz soundtracks, obviously, of all time. And I just love when a jazz musician has the freedom, and especially in these days in the 50s in Europe, but it was more happening than in America. Although the American noir stuff, there's a lot of kind of a jazzy stuff happening, fusion things. But what a great film. Miles Davis improvising with his band on this. This is really a direct influence, not sonically. So Jack Stalling reaches out to John McLaughlin and wants him to do the soundtrack to this movie. McLaughlin reads the script, kind of a noir thing, and really thought about that Miles Davis composition in 1958 and said to him, look, I'll do it if I can do it like that, if I can do it my way, if I can improvise it, work with my musicians, and not have direct cues from you. And that's how it laid out. It worked out beautifully. And he did this before one shot was made. I don't even know if the film has been shot, as I said earlier, but from the script. Now, each track on here takes a segment. If you read in the book, you have the title of a certain character or a certain scene in the film, at least in the script, that he writes to. And again, it goes from the intensity of the fusion of these instruments, of the electric keyboards with the bass and soaring sax melodies with the guitar kind of in tandem, to a little bit of a freak out thing and incredible percussion and rhythm section on this, to the ballads with that, beautiful, electric piano that you would hear, for instance, on the early Chick Corea fusion, even before he gets into the electric things, from the Return of Forever with Flora and the Brazilian stuff, then he gets into the stuff, obviously, with Stanley Clarke and that fusion. Of course, John McLaughlin takes some themes of his own from Inner Light. Is it Inner Flight? Inner Light, the Mahavishnu Orchestra record. There's a couple familiar things, even some of his collaborations with Miles, that you think he's going in a direction from an earlier album, but then he kind of goes in a new direction, new explorations, which are pretty intense sometimes, but also very melodic too, and probably suits, again, a film we've never seen to this point. It also harks and brings memories to the fusion albums that Jeff Beck did, Blow by Blow and Wired. But of course, John McLaughlin was doing this kind of stuff with Carlos Santana, with the Mahavishnu Orchestra. The Mahavishnu stuff really ranges. And one of my favorite ones is the collaboration they did with George Martin and Michael Tilson Thomas. But that's a very orchestrated record. That is a big, beautiful record. But then, of course, he gets into these, was it Firebird, Ring of Fire? Can't even think of the name of it. But those collaborations and those intensities too. And of course, he's done the more moody stuff with the ECM, with the acoustic bass things, which I think are beautiful too. What an amazing career, and one of the great guitar players. And of course, when people mention guitar players from the rock side, they don't always bring McLaughlin up because he does that crossover thing. But this guy is killer. If you're a guitar freak, this is a cool record. If you just like a soundtrack, I mean, it's not your normal score. It stands on its own as a jazz fusion record. Again, beautifully recorded, and the pressing itself is immaculate. It's pressed at RTI, all those audiophilia things you like to hear. But again, forget about that. It's the music. I always talk about the music. I don't love an audiophile record just because it's an audiophile record. And I know, this is that perfect kind of record you'd hear in audio shops on hi-fi gear because it's that good of a sounding record. But the music is first. The music is great. It's beautiful as well as it's intense at times. And so this is Music for Abandoned Nights, a movie that we may see someday, noir, that kind of dark noir film, in this case, New York City. John McLaughlin recorded in London, a beautiful Stoughton package, and on Impex Records out now. I think it's about $40, but for this quality and this type of thing, again, new music from John McLaughlin is pretty cool here. Thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.